Hello and welcome to the first ever episode of the British Boxing Blog podcast with me, Andrew.
And myself, Stephen. Good afternoon.
We're going to try and entertain you for the next hour or so, chatting about all things boxing in Britain. Mainly a bit of the North East focus, but generally what's been going on this weekend and a look ahead to next weekend. So where do you think we should start?
I think we might as well kick off with last night's box office Sky show, Anthony Joshua, Carlos Takam review. Just could get into that really.
Go for it, because obviously I was otherwise engaged, so I didn't actually see any of it.
Yes,
yet.
this one was at the MTK Scotland show in Paisley last night. The things we do on a Saturday night. 5-fight show up in Paisley. This one was at. So
we'll decide who drew the short straw later, I think.
It was left to me to watch the Joshua show, which it's a funny one. There was some good fights on it. I thought Katie Taylor was excellent. That was a great scrap. Kaliafai did the job. It wasn't great. It wasn't a great fight against Yoshida, but Ishida. Sorry, Yoshida's a Southampton centre half, isn't it?
Might have had a better chance.
Casually get me Japanese mixed up there. Lovely. So yes, but we'll start with the main event. We'll work down. It's a funny one actually. When I was watching it, after watching it, it made us think about football actually, right? And let us go with this. Like recently, Jose Mourinho, right, in Man United, he's been getting a lot of criticism because they've been winning ugly and they're not banging goals in like Man City and stuff. And I thought, well, actually, we were talking with myself and a couple of friends last night saying, oh, this won't go 3, Joshua will kill him. Takam looks, he's a beaten man already and stuff. And it's just, is there any shame in going 10 rounds? Do you know what I mean? Does it leave a bit of a bad taste? Oh, you can't knock him out. Does Joshua have to be scintillating every time? He's still relatively new to, you know what I mean?
Yeah, I'd agree with that. I think the only issue from a fan point of view of Joshua, if you like, is the fact that, depending on who you believe, Takam had either 12 days or 8 weeks notice.
Well, that's a good point.
I think near the 12 days, he didn't look like he'd found out in some of the pre-fight interviews and stuff.
Absolutely.
So that last-minute replacement element, you think, well, should Joshua then be blasting him out? But as you say, he's a tough man. He did box at the world level before.
Yeah, I'm not slating Joshua by any means. He was in control of the fight. He did hurt him. He caught him flush with some big shots, a big uppercut as well. Which Takam tough. What a hard little bastard he is, really. You know what I mean? Like, he's a hard man. Like it was. You watched him and you couldn't help but take him. I wasn't meant to swear, but he was a hard man, and he just. You couldn't help but want him during the fight, and whether the stoppage was soon or not.
I was just going to ask you about the stoppage itself. That's the only bit I've really seen.
My initial reaction was too soon, but then again, when you take the full fight into context and you think, well,
So was it one-sided? Did he?
Takam was waving him on, saying come on. It looked like he was enjoying taking the shots, but there was very little coming back at that point. He had bad cuts. The cut was horrific, and it was being checked through the full fight, and but he was game and he was trying to go for AJ and stuff, and he took everything AJ had to throw at him. And I think Tony Bellew touched on it after the fight, saying that I think most people watching it and most people in that arena wanted Takam to get a bit of a moral victory and to hear the final bell, because he was, he wasn't a Charles Martin who just came and lay on his arse and whatever. People took to him. And
I've seen on social media a bit of that as well.
It's that underdog thing.
People watching and saying, "Oh, the ref should have given that, as you say, getting the distance and all the rest of it." But that's not the referee's job, really.
Well, it's not really, and I think he must have. I don't know. He just felt a bit sorry for him. Just thought, he was taking some shots at that point, and I just think it just left a bit of a. Don't know. I think as the underdog in you was rooting for Takam because he was good. He was good value. He was hard. He broke Joshua's nose, I think, or it might not be broke. I don't know, but he damaged it with the head early on, and again.
It was the second round, I think.
Yeah.
Bits of it obviously driving back. I was just saying to you before we started recording, I was listening to it on the radio.
Yes,
you did. Talk Sport now doing the coverage of the boxing. And having listened to Alan Brazil and a few others try and discuss Ryan Burnett and his victory last week, it made a good change because they had a decent panel on. David Price was on. He's obviously, again, that cliche, likeable bloke and that, but he spoke a lot of sense. And
fella.
Whether he's got that level or not, the fact that he's a heavyweight professional boxer, even just some of the things you've seen before the fight, like you say, oh, AJ's got fans in with him, obviously had Ibrahimovic in.
Yeah.
He says he looks relaxed, and he said he was similar in that he wanted to be distracted from the fight, and just little insights like that were quite good.
It's funny because
well,
TalkSport are getting a bit more coverage, but as you say, it is good when they get people that know their stuff, and they get like Gareth A. Davis and that.
Ronald McIntosh was commentating. I know he divides opinion. That reaction there.
Did he have a co-commentator, or was it just him? Because he could talk like that.
It was McCrory was on with him as well, and to be fair to him, on the radio, he did a good job because he was describing obviously what was going on in the ring, and your very eloquent description of Takam there as a hard little bastard. At one point, McIntosh referred to him as a Parisian ball of perpetual motion, which made me absolutely crease. It took us about 4 seconds to work out what he meant by that. And then they obviously...
Initially, when you look at them, and Joshua just dwarfed him, and you thought, oh, you did, you feared for him, you thought this is going to go early, this... but it didn't, and he took everything, and he just had such a hard head, and I liked him, and he was good value, and he was a lot better than... your Molinas and that he put up a better fight than some of these other people that have fought Joshua, and you think, well, but
again, like as you say, Joshua, he's had 20 fights. He's a phenomenon, really. It's unbelievable. Like,
we said this a long time ago that he can still be a world champion, Joshua, but also be a work in progress at the same time.
Yeah,
don't get me wrong, he's fought Klitschko. I know that, and that was a brilliant fight. But there was, I don't know,
Klitschko coming off a loss.
Maybe he's an older Klitschko, definitely, but there was a point where. He can still, as I say, he won the IBF world title, but he was fighting people that...
But that's the thing, he would have vacant... No, it wasn't vacant, was it? Sorry, Charles Martin.
Charles Martin did.
Might as well have been vacant. Well,
that's it.
What you're saying with that.
But he's 20-0 now, and you think, well, he's sounding like, he's doing it...
Do you think then his problem is the lack of competition? Because as you say, he's got to this point...
I think it is.
Before Klitschko, without really having had a challenge.
That's
in his last two fights... Again, not adversity necessarily in this one, but he's had a damage to his nose, blood in his face, something he's not experienced. Last fight he got knocked down.
I think there's still a vulnerability about Joshua. It's just getting that person who can. Klitschko did. He put him down. Like even last night, you've seen in some of the later rounds, whether it's because his nose or not, he was breathing heavy, and you thought, if someone could just get at him here and really give him a question.
That's what I mean. Is who's out there that can do that?
Well, you look at the. Say inverted commas, the big three that Eddie Hearn mentioned last night. You've got obviously Deontay Wilder. Whether that'll happen anytime soon, I don't know. How good is Deontay Wilder? Who knows?
Well, he's similar to Joshua in that sense that he hasn't really fought a good level of competition, but he's done everything that's been asked of him so far. He looks obviously wild, want of a better description at times. Some of his swings, but he's big, he's athletic. He's fighting Stavern in the rematch next week after obviously Ortiz fell through. That's a bit disappointing.
It is. Because
Ortiz would have been a good one.
A live test, definitely. And again, we can talk about Tyson Fury all afternoon if we want, but there's literally no point in touching on it because I love him. I absolutely love the bloke, and I know he's got his detractors and he says some daft things, but there's no point talking about him until A, he's got a license, and B, he's in any sort of shape.
It's like a mythical matchup, isn't it? Like, I know Sky got ridiculed earlier in the week for asking who was better, or was AJ the best ever British heavyweight. You've got Fury, as you say, Lennox Lewis by far and away achieved more.
Yeah, I love
obviously AJ might get onto it, but it's like that different generation almost. If you compare to Fury that beat Klitschko,
well, that's it,
to AJ last night, I think Fury would absolutely school him. But
I love Fury, but again,
even if he gets down to fighting weight,
I have no
what's to say
idea.
That you
hear rumours on Twitter about his personal circumstances, and it's not for us to touch on. But until he's in any sort of shape and he has a license and he's as you say, it's a mythical matchup really, and it's who knows if he'll be back or how he'll be back or when he'll be back. You just don't know with him, so you've got to rule him out for the time being, but then it leaves you again with limited options.
Who were the others that Hearn mentioned?
He mentioned Wilder, Parker, Fury for 2018 fights. Parker, I think Anthony Joshua has no problems with him whatsoever. Judging on what I've seen, I know Takam took the full distance. I didn't think he was great against Hughie Fury. He's quite a small heavyweight, and I just can't see him. I'm just not a huge fan.
Basic. He does most things
Lovely
well.
Lovely fella, mate. But
most things well, but nothing spectacular about
him. No, that's it.
And as you say, Wilder, I think that's the one that'll attract the interest. That's the one that
I think so. I think why not? Why not in 2018? How long do you keep it on the back burner for? If it can be done, then it can be done. Just because if it's Vegas or if it's over here, like Eddie Hearn was saying, we want to stay in the UK, but
I think he probably does.
He probably does when he's selling out 75,000 seat stadiums, of course. But that's it. There's not much out there. I think someone asked her a question. I can't remember the guy's name on Twitter about what our thoughts were on the current domestic heavyweight scene.
Yeah,
and I think that leads into that, because I think I listened to an interview a couple of weeks ago with Anthony Joshua, and he was saying he feels like, he needs the likes in a few years or however long of Daniel Dubois and Joe Joyce and that to step up. Because
so that question, just to clarify, was from Colin Cooper.
Not the former Middlesbrough manager.
We don't think he was the Middlesbrough defender, but never know.
Oh, did he not manage them? No, he didn't, did he? No. Anyway, continue.
British heavyweights. Sexton, Gorman, Joyce, Dave Allen and Dubois level. How would you rank them? So how would we rank them? I'll let you break some down and then I'll pick up.
We'll start with Dubois. Again, it's hard to... I was quite cynical at first when I first seen him, because I thought... Not cynical, just cynical of the motives behind him. Was he just BT Sports and Box Nation's answer to Anthony Joshua? Have they just found a Joshua Mark II and someone they're going to build up from scratch? Again, is there anything wrong with that? I don't know. He looks like a really nice guy. He's blew everyone away so far. He looks good. He does look good. But again, we'll never ever know how good these people are until he gets a live opponent, which he's such a young kid. There's absolutely no need to rush him whatsoever. So who knows how good he'll be, really. Until someone sticks one on his chin, I guess. But I don't know. I like him. I like what I've seen, but again, against very limited people. So, but I think with him and Joe Joyce, fair play to Joe Joyce going straight into the Lewison fight. I thought that was a great move. It's nice to see him boxing on Dave and on normal TV, but I think it's up to these guys now to really go push on through, and I think the opportunities will be there for them, because it shouldn't, if they're any good, it shouldn't really take them that long to get through domestic level heavyweights. Do you know what I mean?
Again, yeah, I mean, we talk about world level, but
there's that gap. There's always been that gap now between, there's not many world class heavyweights basically. So
I think that, and I've heard this before and obviously read it online and things, and Dubois could be the real deal, but just to reiterate what you've said, really, it's hard to judge him and stake a claim and say yes, he's going to be amazing based on the blown up cruiserweights that he's fought so far.
Well, that's
but if you're his promoter, especially at heavyweight, you don't particularly want to stick him in with someone who
no, because can
knock him out.
Of course, no, you're not going to, because BT Sport are building a lot around him and Anthony Yard. We'll call him Yard.
Yard.
And they get again a lot of detractors for him. I'm going off on a tangent here.
No, go for it.
They don't want them to get beat. It's as simple as that. And Eddie Hearn's done it for years, and people don't want their assets to lose fights because the stock will fall. And that's the same. You mentioned
Joyce there as well.
Yeah,
he seems to be the opposite, because obviously he's early 30s and has a massive amateur pedigree. A big silver medal. He's really been projected quickly to go through the ranks. Obviously he made his debut against Ian Lewis, and we just talked about that briefly before. Looked fairly impressive. I think he got the job done. Lewis wasn't any great shakes, considering he had a 12-week camp.
Right.
Didn't look particularly in great shape at all, to be honest. But Joyce did what was expected of him. Seems to have enough power to get someone out there eventually.
Don't get us wrong, I'm not detracting away from the British heavyweight. Like Sam Sexton the other week, brilliant. Beat Gary Cornish, up in Scotland.
Yeah, it was on the MTK Scotland show.
MTK Scotland show for the British title. I think that's a great achievement for anyone. Dave Allen, I absolutely love Dave Allen. Just a lovely fella. And
what level do you think he is at, though?
I would loved to have seen that rematch last night with Leroy Thomas, because you followed Dave Allen's camp through social media, and he's been very open and honest about.
What happened with him last night then?
I read meant to have a fight,
wasn't on.
And then he said he posted an Instagram video before he was meant to have a fight, but then he had a bit of a twinge in his back or something, and he said Calify's trainer looked at his back, or his physio or something. He looked at his back and said that his pelvis was rubbing against his coccyx, and it was a bit inflamed and stuff, and it was so he just, and Eddie Hearn said before, back issues, but which probably added to a bit of a frustrating week for him, really, because he looked like he's got himself in the shape of his life, and then he's obviously Lenroy, for whatever reason, didn't turn up, and then he didn't get a fight in the end at all. So it's a shame, because it seems like he's put his heart and soul in that camp, and he was in fantastic shape compared to what he used to be like. What level do I think he's at?
Because I think personally there'll be a bunch of heavyweights out there. Some of who we've mentioned, Nathan Gorman was fighting up Newcastle in a couple of weeks.
Yeah, he is. Yeah.
That sort of level. that we'll see Dave Allen as almost a money fight for the domestic scene. Like, he's built his profile up massively on social media. He shifts loads of tickets. Eddie seems to get him on his shows and enjoy him. But
is that the route Dave Allen wants to go down? Because he did fight for the Commonwealth belt, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So it looks like he's sort of missing those guys out, but I don't know. Again, as you say, he's done a brilliant job social media wise, and
I think there are some intriguing options there with like the likes of ones we mentioned there. You could, obviously Joe Joyce has made it clear, or David Hayes made it clear he wants to move him towards the British, so that would be Sexton maybe next or one after that. You've got others that will be working their way up the mandatory route, and I think personally Dubois will probably skirt past those a little bit. He's already won a WBC youth title or something, so maybe looking to get his rankings up similar to Yarde and Frank Warren like that. But there's some competitive fights to be made, definitely. Whether they'll reach the top level or not, the only time will tell.
Just a quick mention, we haven't mentioned Dillian White yet. Actually, he was obviously fighting last night. Speaking of heavyweights, and he was... It was a hard one to get your head around, because I think Adam Smith and Carl Fotch in commentary were maybe a bit critical of him, which I can understand, because they were saying, this is your chance. You're fighting in front of 70,000. You're the one before the main event. You've got the Wilder watching the US, and this is your chance to really send a statement out. But he didn't really. There was no real spark there. And I was thinking about this morning, and I think a lot of that is to do with Hellenius, because he just didn't want to know. Like, I don't understand why he just didn't engage at all, and it was just so awkward for him, and it looked like he was just wanting to hear the final bell, really. And I don't know, it made Dillian look probably worse than he is. Just a bit slow, a bit cumbersome. He was trying to land the big right hands, the big haymakers all night, and just didn't. And you did feel like maybe he missed a chance to really say, I do want this world title, and I want Wilder next, and I'm ready for that. And you looked at him last night, and you sort of maybe got a few more questions rather than answers about him again. How good is he? And
I think you've hit the nail on the head there, because personally, every time I've seen him, I've never been that impressed with him. And I know the harsher critics out there saying that he's dangling out on catching AJ with one shot.
I think I'm one of those that I think White and AJ at some point again will be inevitable. But
of course it will, but whether it should be or not
is a different matter.
I don't think particularly White has done anything to warrant jumping to the Deontay Wilder fight. I don't think Wilder should have to face White to build his profile over here and face Joshua. He's the champion.
No, of course.
He's been champion longer than Joshua. Hasn't fought anyone of quality, as we've touched on.
Definitely not, no.
But I don't see Dillian White as massively above some of those heavyweights that we've mentioned there.
Well, exactly, that's a good point. I don't know, I just thought...
He might be. He might get him and absolutely blitz him. Obviously, he's already fought Dave Allen. And
Hellenius was
didn't do particularly.
He looked like Hellenius was tiring from about round 4 or 5, and I thought he was just... he was landing a couple of shots here and there, but there was no ambition for him at all. And I think sometimes that maybe that made for... It just didn't do Dillian White any good to fight someone like that, I don't think, and it didn't make him look good, and he just looked a bit frustrated at the end. And he won well, don't get us wrong, he won, and there's nothing wrong with that at all, and he's beat a credible opponent, really. Do you know what I mean? So I just felt like there was maybe a bit of a chance missed, that's all, just to really send out that message to people watching, thinking, this is the new improved Dillian White, and just maybe something just lacking a bit, that's all. But as I say, he did the job.
All in all, would you say that was worth your £20 that you?
Well, it's funny because
got to watch.
I got in last night and I thought, right, I'm going to buy it. I'll watch it. I had this in mind, and I thought, right, well, it's a night of boxing at the end of the day. So I paid £20.95 on Virgin Media for the HD stream, which just didn't work, and it was buffering, and it was just ridiculous. So after numerous phone calls to Virgin Media, I then had to buy the SD, the standard definition stream, and now be refunded for the HD stream. Was it worth it? I don't know. We could talk for hours about this, to be honest with you. I thought the Buglio... by the way, I just want a quick mention for Craig Richards. Fair play to him. You're talking about last minute replacements. He did himself no harm whatsoever. Moving up to light heavy against Buglioni, I thought he really game. Good effort from him last night. That was a good fight. Calify, again, a bit similar to Dillian White, not going through the motions, just didn't catch fire at all against Ishida. Just didn't.
Tough and harder for the smaller guys to generate that interest as well. And
it is.
It was interesting seeing the reaction on social media this morning, and I did sort of lead with that question, asking whether you thought it was worth it, because a lot of criticism seems to be coming back, and me personally, I don't have a lot of sympathy. If you looked at that card and thought, right, I'm paying my £20, that's fair enough, that's your decision. But there was nothing on that show that was particularly worse than what I anticipated it to be. Yes, you can say Joshua wasn't as explosive and all the rest of it, but then you're not guaranteed that.
Well, that's it, you're not.
You pay based on the matches that are there. You've known that the last minute replacement opponents are coming in. You know that they're not going to be potentially as good as the original. Like Bullioni and Callum Johnson would have been one that I thought definitely that was a great
cracking fight,
even match that should be. Not necessarily I'm going to pay £20 just to see that.
That's problems with you,
that would contribute. I'm probably close.
No wonder British boxing's a mess.
But then that's the sort of thing I think, that contributes to a good card for me. That one falls away. Little interest in Katie Taylor and Yafai. Yes, the world titles.
Katie Taylor's brilliant. It was a good fight that she was credit to her. She seems like a really nice girl and she did really well. I don't know a great deal about women's boxing, I won't lie, but I know a good fight when I see one, and that was a really good fight. Yafai wasn't great. You think, maybe they mentioned to him the HBO show that they've got coming up, I think next year, with the little guys on. I think maybe he's going to aim to go on that, but he said his hand was a bit iffy at the minute. So
yeah, I mean, Eddie Hearn recently mentioned that Yafai was the best super flyweight in the world, which
big statement.
Personally, I think is.
Don't sweat.
Let's call it bluster.
Right.
There was a card, obviously, you talk about HBO there. You've got Roman Gonzalez, who has been at the top of the tree for a while.
Definitely, yeah.
Coming off 2 defeats now. The lad that beat him. Rungvisai, I believe.
Yeah, good for nice, good effort.
My tie's not up there with some of the other languages.
My tie.
He's knocked him out and seems to be the one at the moment who's up there. You've got Estrada, Quadras, all of those who give him a good fight. There are good fights out there for him, but he's probably going to have to go to America.
Yeah,
I
think so, and I think why not? I don't think he's a huge seller in Birmingham. I think he's done that. He's had his homecoming defence and stuff, and I think, why not get out there, make some money, have some meaningful fights, and go for it, because he's a good boxer, and let's see how good he is. What else have I got to reflect on about last night? I think that's it really. Just to summarise,
right. We'll move on then. Shall we go on the next bit?
We'll go on. We'll move on. I was just going to say credit to AJ. He did come through a bit of a test, and it was good. It was a good value, and that was it. Onwards and upwards for him.
Probably cut this bit out of top right.
See how he goes. Yes. Done.
So go through a quick review now of the MTK Scotland show up in Paisley.
Yeah, you were there.
There were 5 fights on. I don't think the team up there would mind me saying it wasn't the strongest lineup. Wasn't the best show that we've seen there. Again, the production values inside and it all looked very glamorous. It's very well done.
We've
got a question about MTK, which
we'll
touch on. I didn't actually sample the buffet.
You didn't sample the buffet? That's the reason I go.
By the time I got there, it was 6:45, so I was straight in. Met Tam, the media lad there, who sorted me out, got me a seat ringside, what have you. And
sample the buffet.
Mark Kerr opened the show. Magic, Marky Kerr.
Right, yes.
He went the distance. He won pretty much every round, I think, on my score. I think the ref scored it a bit closer. Gave, I think, 1 or 2 rounds against, 1 round against him, I think. And again, he did well. He seems to be in a little bit of a, he's moving towards something, a 6-rounder, so not, he's past the early stage of his career.
Definitely.
He's looking to increase the distance. Not much more to say on that one. Again, he did well. It was a good solid performance from Mark. Stefan Sanderson came out next.
Just a dislocated shoulder guy?
He did, yeah. So I obviously was watching, and he's boxing away. Come out and I
seen your tweet when you went, he's not throwing.
It was literally his left arm, and as a southpaw, his power shot, his backhand was just hanging by his side, and he's throwing the jab. He's throwing little hooks with his right hand and uppercut, like literally keeping his opponent at bay. And then I don't know what round it was, but towards the end of the fight, he starts throwing it again. So apparently, I've read MTK message saying that he dislocated his shoulder. They popped it back in during the fight, and he's kept going. Now, we're speaking to the ring announcer, and Greg mentioned that he'd been coming back off I think it was almost a year out injured,
right?
And it was only his 3rd pro fight, but we weren't sure whether that was related to his arm or was a totally different injury. So if it is,
fair play to him, like.
I know, like
credit to him for doing it, you know, getting through it and going on him. Not a name I'm too familiar with from the shows.
No, I'd never seen him before, and to be honest, he did look good, and especially with the injury, he was boxing really well. He was quite aggressive, still coming forward, and could be one to watch.
Yeah, definitely.
Hopefully, if the injury isn't related, hopefully it's something that they can get sorted and move on. Another one, very early in his career, Calvin McCord made his debut at lightweight,
right?
4-rounder, 20-year-old, and again, not one I'm too familiar with. We don't really follow the amateur scene as much as the professional.
No.
But again, he boxed very, very tidy. His opponent, I can't remember his name, and I tried to box like him and I couldn't find him. But it was a lad from Blackburn, and he was game enough, and it was a close one. It was one of those where you think, oh, he's won every round on the ref scorecard. It wasn't competitive, but each round they were both working hard, and they look. He could be one to keep an eye on. We'll see.
No, definitely.
Paul Keane, I don't know if you've seen him before.
I have seen him a few times from Dundee.
Yeah, Dundee.
He always brings big numbers. He brings good support.
He had a massive, massive crowd there for him. And
I like Paul Keane.
It was his first 6-rounder again, so another one that Sam Kinnock and the team are looking to sort of move on and progress up. Hopefully, get him towards the domestic and area level Scottish titles and things.
Yeah.
But again, he was just another very tidy little boxer, and he's one who, I don't know, he's a tricky southpaw to try and tag it. It's hard to gauge because they're in there with these journeymen who are by design there not to get stopped. So the fact that you're not blowing them out, it's a bit of a cliche, but he will learn a bit more patience and how to manage the distance and things as he moves on.
I like him. I like what I've seen from him. He's a nice guy too. So
and then
pleased for him.
I agree with that. And then Jordan McCrory was the main event. Unfortunately, that ended in the second round due to a cut. His opponent was quite a nasty one. The ref had been keeping an eye on it, and the doctor had looked at it, and then it got waved off. So it was a little bit of an anticlimax to the night, because I know McCrory also,
I like him. I think
he brings a lot of fans, and
he does, and he's got a good style too. I've seen it just a bit earlier there. That I've seen him when he fought Ryan Moorhead from Liverpool up there. And it's a cracking fight that. Moorhead just nicked it, but it was a great fight, and one I'd like to see again actually. But he's an entertaining fighter, and it's a shame that it got ended early, that one.
Just worth mentioning as well, he isn't a 2-weight Scottish champion, featherweight and super featherweight. The last time I saw him was in the second of those where he beat I think it was Stephen Maguire,
right?
And I've probably got his name wrong there, but Jamie Maguire maybe. Anyway, someone Maguire. And he did well, and it was a really good scrap that. It was a bit of a different one in terms they both had the fans there. It was a 50-50 build as a 50-50 fight. It was a close one, whereas I think last night was just a case of keeping them ticking over.
I think it's if anyone does actually listen to this, I guess since we started this British Boxing Blog 2 years ago, that if anyone thinks, why did they go to MTK Scotland and all, that's a bit random. You know what I mean? It's just...
I thought that last night.
You're driving back from Paisley at 2 in the morning.
No, thanks to the cut, I got back at 1, it was fine.
Oh, good lad. It's funny to explain where it came from, wasn't it? I think when we first started, we were a bit, not naive, but we were just sort of...
Clueless.
Not naive, but clueless. Just a bit wet behind. Not wet. Oh, how can I describe it?
Inexperienced.
But we thought, right, we'll start this boxing blog and boxing site and Twitter and all this that goes with it. And I just think we were conscious of people not thinking, we're just freeloaders who, you just talk about boxing but you don't go and blah blah.
Yeah, well, we saw
I remember seeing a tweet from Kugan Cassius saying, there's all these people trying to turn up at matchroom shows or whatever, and they never, you should be covering small hall shows if we were boxing. And I thought, well,
that is exactly why we set the website up.
We did it
for the North East anyway.
Yeah, we did as fans anyway, and I think, we got to know Sam at MTK Scotland, and he must have thought, well, who are these two idiots, and why they're sort of doing questionnaires with my fighters, Tommy Philbin and that, like, why are they just using the spare time to do that? And, but absolutely love going up there, whether it's Meadowbank or Paisley or one of the dinner shows if we can ever get to them, which can be hard due to work. But they're a great team up there. Sam and Tam and Jono and all that lot that work for MTK Scotland have just been brilliant to us. And it's nothing to us to drive up to Scotland.
We've done it the other way as well. MTK Manchester as well.
Yeah, we did shows at Preston. Yeah, we did.
Not recently, but we did a couple early on, and that does lead us seamlessly into our next question.
That was smooth. That.
So this one, and I think just well worth giving a bit of credit there. Martin Theobald from New Age Boxing.
Legend. Internet, Twitter legend. Like, more cynical than you, and that's saying something. A lovely guy. I've only met him once, but he's been,
we met him a while ago, actually. It was the David Hay show in London, wasn't it? With Steve Goodwin doing the undercard.
David Hay and Mark Demore.
It was, yeah.
But he was...
And Martin
thought, who are these idiots?
Part of New Age Boxing, who they have their own podcast, and that's been a bit of an inspiration. It's one I know I listen to regularly.
Yeah,
and
you love it.
He's messaged us asking, and just wishing us luck, and basically asking.
Try and do him proud.
Yeah, see if we have any questions we can ask him, so we'll be bothering him all week probably. But Martin has asked, do you think MTK are right in creating regional operations under MTK Global, or would they be better off under one name and brand? So rather than having MTK Scotland,
but I suppose they do all fall under the umbrella of MTK, I guess, don't they? But I know what you're saying. It's not.
Yeah, but you haven't got, for example, you've obviously mentioned Matchroom there. You haven't got a Matchroom Scotland, a Matchroom
that's true.
Manchester,
Matchroom Monte Carlo.
We'll get on to that.
No, that's a good point. I've never really thought about it much, but I like the way they do it, actually. I think it adds a certain amount of... The name itself adds a bit of class to proceedings and stuff, and they all do it well. I know Sam, we've touched on, does a great job over there in Scotland. I think a lot of small hall promoters could learn from Sam, really. Just, how he makes it, gets everyone involved.
He does work closely as well, doesn't he?
Yeah, he does.
The bigger branch, shall we say.
He does, yeah. I think a lot of people, could take a leaf out of his book. I think it's always, as you said, great production, great setup, makes everyone feel welcome. It's a good atmosphere out there. We did a few shows down in Manchester when Johnny Roy used to do his MTK Preston shows.
Yeah.
And I loved them as well. They were great. We haven't been one of them for a while. Are they quite enough, or just?
I don't know, because they've got a few others. They've got the Birmingham one, and they've got a Liverpool one.
Yeah, MTK London seems to be going from strength to strength.
Obviously, the New Age Boxing lads, Martin, Terry, and Andy, they did the commentary for one of those shows.
I know IFL was doing
the live stream,
which is cracking. And I know it's something we've looked at and may look at in future, the whole live streaming side of it. But I would love to get down to one of those shows in Essex. I think they put some big numbers on, good cards. David Price is coming back on that card soon on an MTK London show.
Towards the end of the year.
I like the way they do it, and I think they keep it regular. They get the fighters out as often as they can, and I just think, is there a market for an MTK North East? Probably not. MTK Newcastle. I don't know.
It's tough in the North East because to call it MTK Newcastle, there's a core fighters in Sunderland. There's obviously Steve Wraith building in Darlington.
Yeah.
And it's hard to get a Darlington lad up to Newcastle for a show and things like that, which I think works
There's probably no need
well with the regional side of MTK. Obviously, you mentioned an example earlier where Ryan Moorhead from Liverpool's come up
to Scotland
and boxed in Scotland against one of their fighters. So I think as long as the different branches of it are happy to pair their fighters off against each other and build the cards that way.
That's a good... work closely together in that way.
Which they seem to have done. I think
they do for sparring as well. I think so, yeah, definitely. There has. I think, didn't some of the Manchester lads...
I imagine they regularly do.
Come to Scotland. I don't know, as you say, like Derry Matthews is close to Sam and all that lot. I think Liverpool and Scotland... it is nice that they can tie in. I think it was Sonny Upton not meant to be on last night's card.
There were a few listed. It obviously didn't get mentioned. It happens at the big shows, happens at the small ones as well.
It probably drives them mad, pullouts. But no, I like it, and I would like to get more in future. I think it's something that we enjoy doing. Well, we're able to go for any shows, really, aren't we?
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
If anyone's out there listening, if anyone's press passes,
if anyone wants to...
we will literally travel the length of the country.
We'll go anywhere. We don't even ask for anything. We do it out of our own money and our own pocket. Hey, if you want to put up in a hotel and get a pint, then you're more than welcome. But no, it's I just going back to New Age Boxing. I love listening to their stuff because the South is a bit of a minefield to me. It's a constantly ever changing scene, and it's a busy scene. Do you know what I mean? We don't get to as much as we can. We still haven't been to York Hall. And
I know that's one on our list. And definitely.
The Goodwins do a great job down there. I can go off on a tangent here, but which I'm probably about to do.
I'll reel you back in.
Go on, I'm back. Go on.
So
shoot from your hip. Your new hip, sorry, Partridge. Don't go Partridge.
That's getting cut outside. If that stays in, you'll know the rest of it hasn't gone well.
You can't cut out Partridge references. That's the first one in 40 minutes. It's a good effort.
I'm impressed you lasted that long.
Mm-hmm.
Well, the first 3 minutes was just us sitting silently, so we'll build up to the introduction.
Go on, next question. Shoot.
Who are the top 3 current Northern boxers that I've yet to be exposed to? That's Martin again helping us out.
Northern boxer? Northern boxer.
It says Northern. Should we focus that a bit more on the North East?
We'll focus North East, which is our
Manchester or Yorkshire.
Sometimes I think we should be called North East Boxing Blog. No, it's just...
No, but then that limits us to go on the Scottish shows and that.
Well, no, we don't. No, I love the whole nation thing. But it's an area we probably know quite a great deal about. We were going to North East shows for a long time before we even started this, you know what I mean? So, top 3. Top of my head, right?
I'll let you have a think.
Go on.
Because just on that, I'd say, we obviously... That's how we started the website, really. Going to North East shows.
Yeah,
and
it was.
Thinking, well, actually, we could probably write about this. And I remember
string a sentence together.
The first one I actually went with my girlfriend, bought a ticket.
Classy, man.
Sat and watched it on my birthday and was tweeting updates of Jazza Dickens and Martin Ward. And then, obviously, from there, we sort of built the relationships and got in a bit with the promoters. And I think we've tried to remain impartial. So if there are anyone that we don't mention on this list, or any promoters, we apologise now. But I know fine well one of them that Stephen's going to mention.
What the boxers?
Yeah,
top 3. I'm a huge fan of a guy called Jamie Humble from Fighting Chance Promotions here in Gateshead. He was a cracking out there. I think he boxed for England and Berkeley, and I just like his style. I like his switch hitting style. I think he's really quite a stylish boxer. And I know he's took on a good fight. Actually, next he's took on a Northern Area title fight against Chrissy Wood from Dalton, and Jamie's going in as the away fighter. So I think that'll be a fantastic fight in early December. But I'm a big fan of his. I like him. I like him. What I've seen so far. And the last time out at St James's Park, he scored a lovely stoppage victory as well, which I didn't know if he had that type of power. I didn't know. I thought he was just, maybe a Lee Selby type, just a nice boxer type. But he was. I like him a lot, and I think the guys at Fighting Chance do a good job with him, definitely. I think that'll be a cracking fight. And again, like you said before, fair play to Steve Wraith and Fighting Chance for putting the two fighters together. And it's North East boxing is all the better for it when promoters work together and make 50-50 fights, like anywhere in the country, I guess. But it's a good fight, that one. I'm looking forward to it.
Anyone else in your mind, or need a bit more thinking time?
No, I can name you fighters. I can talk all day, but some of them you've probably heard of, like Josh Leather. People have got high hopes of Josh Leather up here. He's got a cracking fight in a couple of weeks, which we'll probably touch on in more detail next week, against Glenn Foote. Bit of a crossroads fight, I guess. Maybe it's a bit of a last chance saloon for Glenn as well. But that's on the Smith Williams 2 undercard in Newcastle.
Fortunately ended up in Newcastle.
Ended up in Newcastle. It's a great night that for us. 5 minutes away from our house, so straight. We'll be there that night. I like Josh Leather.
There's another one on that undercard that I'm going to mention.
Go on.
And again, he's probably one that has a bit of national presence. He's fought on matchroom cards before, but I think it's fair to say he's floated a little bit in the last 12 months or so, and that's Jeff Saunders, obviously younger brother of Bradley.
Yeah, I'm a huge Jeff Saunders fan, but as you say, I think he's probably entering now that second phase of his career. He's had his apprenticeship fight, he won. Where was it? The Hardwick Hall. He won the challenge. Remember when he went to South Africa? How random was that? When he had the fight in South Africa and won on points.
He's thinking out loud there.
Just bizarre that. But I like Jeff. I think, is he 10 fights in now, Jeff? I don't know. Something
probably
like that.
More, 10 or 12 maybe.
Right.
I think.
And I think it's he's full time. He's a full time boxer, and I think he's fighting an unbeaten guy next. I think is it Stephen Lewis, something like that. But I do like Jeff, and I think he's signed with Frank Warren now, and I think that's probably a great thing for Jeff, because I think he needs regular fights now. He's done his undercards, he's done his little small hall shows up here and stuff, and I think it's probably time for Jeff to crack on. He as you say, he blazed onto the scene really with a string of knockout victories, and he had Eddie Hearn at his back for a while, and I know Steve Wraith is managing him, but I think we're definitely entering the second phase of Jeff's career now, so it'll be interesting to see how far he goes. I think I like him.
I agree with you. I think
he is good.
He's got decent power again, good amateur.
He stopped the knockouts for a bit, but I know he's
with the paras, wasn't he? And he has his. Just look there, and I said 10 or 12. He's got 11 fights. 6 knockouts. So again, he's got decent power. Hopefully that'll carry up as he fights people who are a bit more open, a bit more aggressive against him. He'll find the opportunities. it's again, as I agree with what you said there about signing with Frank Warren. Frank seems to have invested a little bit recently in the Northeast, and
I think it's all coming together nicely with Tommy Ward.
Josh Leather, Tommy Ward's on that bill as well, obviously defending his British Super Bantamweight title. He's another one of my favourites. He's bizarre looking at his record that he's had 21 fights.
He's such a young kid as well.
And he's so young, but now he's a British champion, so hopefully again you'll get a bit more exposure.
Obviously, you're probably now aware, people out there will be now a lot more aware of Lewis Ritson. I think we were championing Lewis Ritson's praises for a good couple of years really, and he was a bit of an unknown quantity, and I think it took that victory over Robbie Barrett to bring him to national attention, which obviously we had a few quid on. We had a good...
So did Tam last night. He was telling us he was gutted because apparently he wasn't allowed to bet more than 30 quid on the knockout.
Oh, really?
Yeah. But he made a nice sum off that as well.
I think a few people up here had a bit of money on Lewis Ritson that night. I think people up here, and obviously people in Scotland, because he used to train with Billy Nelson, were well aware of just how good just how good he could be. But it was surprising when he went into that fight, odds against, and I thought, oh hello, I'll have a bit of this. I think my dad had money on it and a few other people. So, but I'm a big fan of Lewis, and he's a lovely kid as well. So, and to have two Northeast British champions is fantastic.
On two different platforms as well.
Yeah, Sky and Box Nation,
Frank's
BT.
Northeast fighters there. Obviously, Eddie's signed Ritson up off the back of that one. So I imagine he'll be in with either Cardle or Dodd.
It's funny because
they've both made noise about wanting the British. Lewis said that before the Barrett fight, he was more prepared for Cardle, who he thought was more suited or matched up better to him, rather than Barrett being a bit of a tricky southpaw. He obviously dealt with that very well. And I think those are two really good matchups that will bring Lewis on. Again, he's another one. He's only got 13 fights or so.
I know,
British title already. And then obviously Eddie's other matchup.
I think Eddie's, well, that's it. Eddie's looking at doing a show up here in March, I believe. I said he's trying to get Lewis out one more time before Christmas. I don't know
I heard that. And well, obviously December. But
Josh Kelly, I always forget about him when people ask us this question, because I don't sort of look at him as a Northeast boxer, if that makes sense, because he doesn't live up here. He doesn't train. Well, he might live up here, but he doesn't train up here.
Just assuming that.
He might live up here. Who knows where he lives? He trains at Alan Booth, and he's class. He's a Sunderland lad, which is probably his only fault, really.
we'll not hold that against him. Because he'll batter you.
He'll batter us only next season. But no, he's a nice. He looks phenomenal. There's nothing much you can say about him. He's just obviously our good friend Tom Whitfield. He had far too much for him, and just fascinating to watch his career from here, because he looks good. And
where do you put him now? Who do you match him with now? If you're already here,
I've got no idea really. I don't know how I don't know. I think he looks like the type that wants to be quite rushed as well.
I'll tell you what I would do.
Go on, shoot.
Based on last week's performance and Adam Booth saying he wants to really move him on and push him on, I'm a bit of a traditionalist, so I would love to see him get like the British title and work up that way. So I would put him in there with someone like a Shane Singleton or a Dale Evans, someone quite durable who's in and around that domestic scene.
Definitely,
see how he gets on there. A bit of a risk with that, if you're putting him with someone heavy-handed.
You'd fancy him though, you'd back him.
Yeah, of course, that's what I mean, he'd still be a favourite. You'd put him in there, see how he gets on, maybe box with the British, because Bradley Skeet will be vacating that soon, I imagine. But the way they were talking...
I feel like Bradley Skeet's been British champion for about 6 years.
I was there the night he beat Egerton to get it.
That's right. But, Birmingham.
If that's not an option, from what they're saying, they're talking about sort of European level already, which after 3, 4... maybe 5 fights by the time he gets there, still like phenomenal progress.
I'm all for it, like you get a bit bored watching these learning fights a lot of the time, and he doesn't look like he's got a great deal of learning. If he wants to be let off the leash, and Adam Booth wants to let him off the leash, then go for it, because it can only mean...
Booth does let out this fight as well. If you look at Burnett,
I think up here, I don't know how big of a ticket sale I will be up here or not, but it's quite it can be hard arena to fill, the Metro Radio Arena in Newcastle sometimes for to set it out just for boxing. You think he's going to have to be in some good fight. You know what I mean?
You mentioned there as well.
If it's going to be Lyron Sky, and it can't just be Josh Kelly against a random again. Fair enough, next gen, but not an arena.
But the fact that he's from Sunderland in the main arena is in Newcastle.
Yeah, well,
if you watch carefully and listen carefully, you will always hear him referred to as a Northeast fighter. Fighting pride of the Northeast. It makes sense to try to group that together and sort of eliminate that rivalry. But I think, in general, boxing fans are quite fickle. If Kelly continues doing what he's doing and looking as spectacular as he has and as sensational as he has recently, he'll generate fans, and we've gone way off topic because Martin, I'm sure, is familiar with Josh Kelly.
And yeah, that's true. I just think, just to conclude this section, I think it's just good that we, it felt like to us, maybe I'm wrong, I don't know, but it felt like to us that North East boxing was maybe in the wilderness for a few years. We didn't get as much attention as your Manchesters and your Liverpools and, cities like that. But now with Frank Warren and Tommy Ward and that stable of fighters, and then with now Eddie and his lot, it's to have like 2 arena shows up here in the space of a few months is going to be cracking, and it's good. That North East boxing's getting a bit more interest now from outside, not just people like us.
I know you've just tried to conclude there, but I'm going to add to it.
Go on.
One other boxer who I've literally only seen once,
right,
but really, really impressed me in terms of his skill and the technical ability he seemed to have was Adam Cope.
Cool.
The latest member of the Cope boxing family from Hartlepool,
he's got
sort of a northern area equivalent of the Smiths, maybe.
26 brothers.
And they just seem to be like a conveyor belt, reeling them off. But amazing. He made his debut against Yusuf Al Hamidi over 4 rounds.
German legend. Yeah.
He's never easy to look good against.
No, he's not. No.
Tricky, he's awkward, but Adam was patient. He got taken the 4 rounds, no shame in that against Al Hamidi. He doesn't get stopped, really, does he? And again, very early to say, but we want to keep an eye on and see if he does
definitely.
progress.
I love the Copes, mate. Great lads, and good fans. Bring numbers everywhere from Hartlepool, Barmy Army. So love them. Yeah, I'm looking forward to seeing more of him, definitely. So I hope that answered your question. Bit of a rant, but all good.
So next weekend, Matchroom are back in Monte Carlo.
Yep.
Can you briefly sum up your thoughts on that card? Anything strikes your interest? Anything?
I like it. I think Eddie put some good cards together in Monte Carlo. To be honest with you, I think it's something he likes to do. Jimmy McDonnell against Solis again. A lot of people said McDonnell lost the last fight, so can he win this more convincingly? I'm a big fan of Jimmy McDonnell. I think he's underrated as a boxer and doesn't maybe get enough credit. Is it because he's not a big ticket seller, inverted commas? Who knows? Do you know what I mean? But I like him. Scott Quigg's out again. Again, someone who I feel maybe he's a bit of a crossroads, bit of a forgotten man, Scott Quigg now, because he's left Gallagher's gym and he's not.
It's since he's gone over
to
LA, hasn't he?
Automatically on the Crawler undercard anymore, or vice versa. And you just,
No, he was always on the undercard.
Well, that's it, exactly. I just think I'm just not really sure about him at the minute. I think he seems to have been around forever.
He's gone up to featherweight.
He has gone.
It's a very deep division at the top level that you've got. Obviously, Frampton, Warrington.
I just didn't say moving to LA. I think he's the most un-LA person you could ever imagine. You know what I mean?
If Tony Jeffries can, Scott Quigg can.
Hey, don't grieve Tony Jeffries. He's damn like we listen. But yes, Scott Quigg again. Let's just see how he goes, and I'm looking forward to seeing what he's got left to prove and see how far he can go again. Chisora's on there. Dimitri Bivol against Trent Broadhurst, the WBA World Light Heavyweight title. What's your thoughts on that one?
I think Bivol's one of these. He seems to be rated among the those who like to call themselves the hardcore boxing fans. He's one of those that when he gets a bit of success, they'll probably say he's not actually that good.
Yeah.
It was, I think, rumoured or it was organised that he was going to be fighting Badu Jack, but for one of the WBA, one of the many WBA belts that's about at the moment.
Yeah.
But then Jack has decided against that, so it'll be interesting that obviously Bivol's on the Matchroom card in Monte Carlo. It'll be interesting to see him because I've seen clips and bits of him on YouTube. I've never actually watched him live.
No, neither have I. It'll be the first time for me. Looking forward to it.
But that's another division, light heavy, that's seemingly quite open at the moment. Obviously, Andre Ward beat Kovalev and then is retired, so you've still got Kovalev, you've got Bivol, Beterbiev, another one from sort of that Eastern Europe. Adonis Stevenson, you talk about forgotten men. He's still somehow the WBC champion.
Yeah. Whether we'll fight
again, there's really interesting matchups to be made, but how many actually do and get made is totally different.
Well, that was the different
matter, isn't it?
Well, that's it. That's why I think Kovalev Ward was so good for the sport. You know what I mean? At least they did it twice. You think, well, good on them. But if Stevenson, for whatever reason, doesn't want to step up and fight anyone, then what can you do about that? You can't force the man to do it. If he's happy, just do what he's doing. Then that's it. Not wanting to go down the heavyweight route again, but Douch is always on the European title shot. Saying the Matchroom's a funny one. What Matchroom's intentions with Douch are? Where does
the white rematch?
The white rematch,
which is the one that a lot of fans want to see because
I
personally think that Chisora did enough to get the nod. It was a close fight, so when White gets that, I'm not crying robbery, I'm not saying it's a disgrace.
Yeah.
But it was a competitive fight, a lot more action-packed than I'd anticipated.
It was a good fight.
That's a good one that you'd like to see again, but then there's rumours that Dillian White wants £1 million just for that rematch. and you think, based on the Hellenius performance, who Chisora arguably beat, is he that levels above Chisora? No.
Personally, I don't think Dillian White is now ready after last night to just I want Deontay Wilder next. I think that's too soon for him. I don't think he deserves it really. I think the Chisora rematch probably does make sense. They're probably both at similar levels. Do you know what I mean? So why not go for it?
Because there's a big risk, I think. Personally,
there's a big for Dillian, you mean?
Yeah, if he goes and loses to Wilder, and he's lost to the world champion. So what? If he loses again to Chisora, or even wins a close fight against Chisora, you think is that his level?
And don't look good doing it.
Is he European title fighter? But time will tell whether that gets made or not.
But no, looking forward to it. Again, it's just without sounding like a bit of a casual here, it's great to have. It's good to have boxing on telly most weeks. You know what I mean? There's no shortage of action these days, is there? And Sky, BT, DF5.
Well, we're on about Monte Carlo. I think we'll just extend that little invite out for press passes.
Well, we did apply, but I hoped Eddie Hearn would cover the flights, but
we're still waiting on that one.
He didn't tweet we're back, so it's a bit of a shame.
But, right, I mentioned there about close fights and often they go one way or the other, and then there's people, robbery, it's a disgrace, the worst thing in the sport, corruption, everything gets bandied around. There's countless examples recently. One of our questions, in fact our last question for this episode, said, Detective Hitchcock
Wow.
Exactly. Would like to know your thoughts and ideas on scoring boxing. Got to be the most unclear in any sport. What could be done? I think whoever answers that question and what could be done will earn themselves millions, because it's one of those things that I hate hearing the explanation. It's subjective. It's what you like. It's a case of what you prefer, because that to me isn't fair. You mentioned different styles of boxers earlier when you talked about Jamie Humble and what have you, and you said, like, for example, if you've got a Lee Selby type who's going to box on the back foot predominantly, nice and tight, slick, avoiding punches, not really landing much power shots, but or many power shots, but still producing clean work. If you've got a judge that likes that, he's always going to score it for that fighter if he's consistent. So then, say you're a come forward fighter who likes to get on the inside and throw lots of shots, like you're always going to be down in that judge's eyes. You're not going to get a fair shake of it.
It is. It's a massive question. It's probably too big for us too. I guess personally speaking, I'm a.
Because we've tried to score fights.
I do. Every so often I download JudgePad on the old iPhone and sit and think, right, I'm going to try and score this, and sometimes I just get lost in it, and I just think, I haven't got a clue which way this is going. You know what I mean? Like the fights, it can be hard sometimes. They aren't easy. But that's my issue is it's not with some fights are hard. Some fights are hard to score. Like there's not much in them, and I get that. It's just when you see like absolute miles out scores, and you think, how have you got this like 116?
Ryan Burnett,
12 to, just
that seemed like a close competitive fight, and then you're getting 119, 109.
Yeah, that's just I could
he won the fight.
Oh, I did, but not that way.
He didn't win 11 rounds to 1.
I can never get my head, when Twitter goes in a meltdown with it and outcry, and you think, all these people can't be wrong. Like, you know what I mean? Like, I don't know, there's no accountability really for judges though, is there? You know what I mean? That's it.
No,
you don't see them. If someone walks
that's it. None that we see.
Yeah, none that we see, maybe,
They might get some sort of action against them, but it doesn't seem that way. They're back judging
it'd be lovely to put a microphone in the face and say, so how did you score that and why did you score that? And maybe I don't think it'll ever happen. I'm just saying, like,
but the thing with
it'd
that
be interesting to get into a mind of the judge.
It's the way it's set up at the moment. It's what they prefer.
Yeah.
So you'll get someone who'll be adamant that Golovkin beat Canelo, for example.
Yeah.
And then you've got ones who say, well, actually, Canelo won this one and won that round, and then suddenly it's a lot closer than you think. And
I think we just have to roll with it and just this is boxing, and it's probably been boxing for years, and you hear about robberies all the time. Amateur scene, this scene, for us, it's just, it frustrates the hell out of us, but you bang your head up against a brick wall, don't you?
Yeah.
What can you do? Like, it is mental, because you're talking about millions of pounds and, reputations and everything being in the hand of 3 people at ringside sometimes, and to get them wrong, like they do sometimes, is just, it's quite scary, really. But I don't know how you solve it. I honestly don't. I think we're stuck with it, and it gives us something to talk about, and it gives people something to talk about. And I guess boxing without any talking points would be a bit dull, but it drives me mad. It does.
I'm with you there. I agree that it does generate a bit of discussion. I enjoy, especially on Twitter, where we do most of our work, having a lot of discussions and not necessarily arguments, but difference of opinion
sure.
with people on Twitter about different things, and it's frustrating. And obviously, if you're in there and you've put in the work, if you're the boxer, you've put in the work for 12 weeks or however long your camp was, how many years of your life you've spent getting to that
and
point, and then you
shafted by a
because
judge at ringside, then.
Because you're the away fighter, or because you're not. And again, that's hinting more towards the corruption side of it, which probably does exist, if I'm honest.
Like going back to Fowler Burns, right? A lot of people had that quite, it was quite a close fight, but then I don't know. I was scoring that one, and I agree with the outcome. I thought Fowler won it, and I know there's a lot of people saying, "Oh, Burns should get a rematch. That was close. Burns won that," and I watched that and thought,
Fowler pulled away.
And I thought he did win it, and I just think, but. Again, what do you look for? Was Burns landing the cleaner shots?
Well, you said there shots? As well, it was a close fight, but there's a difference between a close fight over a distance, 12 rounds for example, and close competitive rounds that are still getting won by one fighter. You could have a relatively even round, but you score it to one fighter. If all the rounds are like that, suddenly that fighter's won every single round.
That's it. That looks.
But it's been there's not been a lot in it each round, and it's
what you look for.
It's hard to. I don't envy them, put it that way. I mean, I've tried to do it before, as you say, on an app or whatever. We normally check in after about 4 rounds each or something, isn't it? But they don't have that luxury. If we did it over 12 rounds, I guarantee our scores would probably be miles apart, and we could sit and argue and justify why. Well, I like that work in that one, did that in that one.
I think I get drawn to the come forward fighter, the aggression, personally speaking. But
see, the reason I find it difficult is I find myself emotionally attached straight away. Whoever's fighting, I've got no interest in it whatsoever. And I'm looking and I think, right, I want him to win subconsciously, or he's looking good, and then it's hard to get that out of your mind. It's that saying, like staying impartial. It's hard to do.
It is very hard to do, but I don't know what you do about it. Like, how do you?
We'll put that one back out to our followers. Yes, if anyone's listened to this, what are your suggestions to sort out judging in boxing?
Anyone wants to solve the big judging conundrum in boxing, then feel free to let me know how you're going to do it, because without sounding defeatist, I think you're sort of stuck with it. And, this is boxing, and it probably always will be. We'll be talking about this for years.
Because one of the alternatives obviously was the old amateur system, where it was like a computer system for like every shot landed, but then again you're still relying on someone with a button saying that's landed and that hasn't.
What's clean and what's not, and
and it takes away from
the human emotion, I guess, a bit.
And it's not just a case of landing punches, is it? You could, like, the amateur style is tap and all the rest of it, and there's a whole lot more to it than that that you've got to try and implement. Your game plan might be to not throw as much early rounds, come on a bit stronger, and there's so many different factors to try and consider and look for when you're scoring a fight.
We'll leave this open to our Twitter followers, and again, but that's just our take on it, I guess. But
so we'll leave that open, and we'll leave that there for today. So
we'll leave that there for today. I think we're done. I think we've covered everything we set out to cover, and hopefully it's been alright, and hopefully people will actually listen and enjoy listening.
So the plan is, and I don't know if we'll put this bit in, but we'll try and get this up on YouTube. I'll have a look into getting it on iTunes as well as an actual podcast, so people can subscribe. We are going to try and get this done regularly. Weekly is the aim, but it will probably depend on
Sunday
what's going on. Saturday night plans, but also what boxing's been on that weekend, what's coming up, whether we think we've got enough to chat about. As you've heard, we could probably sit and talk about anything really.
We always have.
The more questions you send in, the more likely we are to get this done.
We're going to talk about Terry Flanagan, but we'll talk about him next week.
The Frank Warren preview next week, so we'll preview the Newcastle show. We'll rope Terry Flanagan in with that as well.
We'll continue doing it, but there's a lot coming up nationally, internationally, locally between now and the end of the year, so plenty to get stuck into. So
brilliant. Thank you for listening if you have.
Thank you very much.